YouTube Ozic going the Godows is back with my week 8 score predictions, predicting the score and picks against the spread for every single game. We do this every single Wednesday. Straight up picks with the other guys already up on the channel. It was a fun time as always. Power rankings already up. We have a few trade deadline videos up, and there are definitely going to be more to come here as it is less than a week away. We have you covered on Twitter with all the latest news, so check us out there. Links pinned in the comments for that. And our sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV, code GO. Got the Cowboys chain on from the GLD Shop. I have a giveaway going on with them. Links pinned in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, to notifications on. Check out our recent content. You will not be disappointed. So going through my scores for each game, and we'll recap my against the spread picks at the end, show you my record on the year. So the Bucks-Bills, it is a big spread, especially, 8.5, the Bills for being favored by, especially given that they've been struggling big time. But I'm going to say I have a few teams kind of having that bounce back / breakout game here this week. I think it's a similar story for quite a few good teams this week. Just got a feeling, teams that are supposed to be better than they are right now, and here's one of them. The Bucks are also struggling. Solid defense. They could play a solid defensive game in this one because they're a good defense, and the Bills have been, a little underwhelming on offense. But I just don't trust the Bucks offense enough here. I think Mike Evans can make some plays down the field. I just don't trust them to stay consistent and do enough. But the reason I think the Bills offense gets going against a good defense is just seems like the perfect time for them to turn it around. The weather's starting to get to, Bills weather, Buffalo weather. They're at home, prime time. That crowd, no matter if they're struggling, no matter if they're playing good, is always there to support them. This is the time for them to kind of really get going and get a boost here as we kind of kick in the gear second half or mid-season of the season, I should say. So I like the Bills winning by 10 in this game, 26-16. Just do not trust the Bucks a lot. But if the Bills really struggle in this game, I think if they struggle defensively, I think that's a problem in this game, which they are beat up, but we'll see if they make a move at the trade deadline as well. Next game to the Sunday games, Rams-Cowboys, same story and a pretty similar score here. The Cowboys, a little bit different story because the Cowboys have been playing fine. They haven't been as underwhelming as the Bills. I predicted the Cowboys to actually come out of the NFC this year. That was with Trevon Diggs. I no longer think they can do it without Trevon Diggs, but have they been playing like the team to beat in the NFC? No. So they've been a little underwhelming to me. They haven't been extremely underwhelming, but I think this is kind of the breakout game where we kind of see the Cowboys team that's a little, we're used to in the regular season. I think and they play a pretty good team. I think the Rams are better than their record shows, but I love this matchup for the Cowboys at home. Coming off getting a break as well. The Rams, it seemed like one of those teams that get more and more beat up as the year goes on. I think to beat the Cowboys defense, you have to run on them first, and that opens up other things. And it's really not super easy to do that. And the Rams just don't have that running game. Not only does McVay not want to run the football, but they don't have Kyren Williams, so that makes it tougher. And, of course, the Rams can sling the ball. Stafford can still sling it. He does have that turnover potential, but that offensive line is still a little questionable. Cowboys still have one of the best pass rushes in football. They're going to get after Stafford. They're going to hit him quite a bit. They're going to create some turnover, so I don't really expect them doing much. And the Rams' defense has been better than expected. Helps when you have Aaron Donald. But on paper, they don't look too good. I think it's about that time where, a good team kind of really exposes that. It hasn't been done yet. So I think the Cowboys will have success on the ground. I felt like the Steelers were opening things up on the ground, which opened things up through the air in the second half of that game last week, even though I think the Rams still outplayed them and they lost. But I think the Cowboys find ways to win in multiple ways in this game. So I do like them by 10 points as well. 27-17 Cowboys, kind of like a little bit of a breakout game for a very good team in the Dallas Cowboys. Next, Vikings-Packers, even line. It went from the Vikings being favored to even, so that's a little interesting. So it kind of makes, Vegas thinks it could be a trap game perhaps because the Vikings are coming off looking the best they have of the season, and the Packers are not playing well right now. They're not doing too well, and they're pretty beat up right now too. So we'll see what happens there. But so maybe a little surprising the line is even, but yeah, the Packers defense has been underwhelming, but that's not because of their pass defense. It's because of their run defense. And the Vikings, they can't really run the football too well. Maybe got it going a little bit last week. So they're going to have to run the ball more, and they're going to have to run the ball better in this game. So can they do that? They'll do enough through the air. You think they did so much through the air against the Niners, so they should be able to do it in this game. I'd say not so fast. I'm actually thinking more of a defensive game than you may think here. The Vikings defense is playing very, very well. They just have better players and more playmakers on offense, but I think they win with defense as well because they're disguising coverages very well. Brian Flores running this crazy zone blitz. Jordan Love struggling right now. It's going to be things that he hasn't really seen much of, and he's going to be under pressure. So I do like the Vikings, holding on to this one. But it's a Vikings game, and it's one of the biggest rival games in football. It's going to be a close one. So 2017 Minnesota is what I got. Next game, Falcons Oilers. The Titans. The Oilers logo is throwing me off. I kept calling them the Oilers on purpose in the picks video, but now I actually was on accident. Tennessee Titans. I got them winning. Upset here. +3. And it is a little tough because it's going to be Will Levis. It's going to be a rookie quarterback, and we could see Malik Willis, but it's going to be a rookie quarterback kind of getting thrown in. They don't have the best offensive line. They're playing a pretty damn good defense. The Falcons have had the defense has played very well this year, much improved. The Falcons seem like pretty inconsistent. Seem like in every other team. Defense is playing great. Offense can move the ball, but Ritter just can't take care of the football. And they're also playing a pretty damn good defense. The Falcons are a team that runs to open up the pass. The Titans are a team that runs to open up the pass. I love the Titans' run defense. It's always one of the best in football. Derrick Henry, I think, is the best back in this game. So things are starting to side towards the Titans in a pretty even matchup. That could go either way. There's just things that point me towards the Titans a little bit more, but mainly the Falcons have struggled away except for last week, and the Titans have been in a totally different team at home. Like, they have actually looked really good. Last time we seen them at home, they played the Bengals, and if you watch that game, I know the Bengals were kind of struggling then, and maybe still are, we'll see, but besides the point, the Titans obliterated them. They look like a dominant football team, so that's kind of how it's been for the Titans. They look like a really bad football team away and then a really good football team at home. So multiple reasons pointing me towards the Titans, but they are playing a rookie quarterback against a pretty good defense. They're themselves, they're using a rookie quarterback against a really good defense. So I like the Titans, though. 2 good running games. I'm going to trust Derrick Henry. 2 good defenses, 2 good run defense. Going to trust the Titans' run defense a little bit more. I like the Falcons' secondary more, but I think it's going to come down to who's winning in the trenches this game. I like the Titans in a squeaker, 17-16. That should be a pretty good defensive game there, and I'm excited to see Will Levis because it may not take much for him to look like the second best quarterback from this class. That doesn't mean he will be for good, but Saints and Colts. Maybe the toughest game to pick this week. I had a hard time with this one because the Saints should be better than the Colts. The Saints got more talent than them. Not that the Colts are completely lacking talent or anything like that, but I think the Saints should be a better team than they are in general. But they've struggled a little bit. They've only beat kind of the weaker teams so far. Offense is struggling with chemistry, things like that. So the Saints should look like the better team, but the Colts have looked like the better team. They're also at home. So in a close game like that, I kind of want to go with the home team, but the Colts have actually played better away, so that makes it tougher as well. Look at the end of the last game against the Jags. The Saints offense, something clicked with them. They got going. So 1 second I'm thinking they can continue on with that. They should be able to move the ball, because I think the Jags defense is better than the Colts defense, and, that's who they faced last week. And in a close game, the Colts got beat up by the Jags when they played them. So it's tough. I can argue either way, but I'm not trying to get sucked into the believing the Saints will fix their offense or anything like that. I think they'll get a little bit going. I think Kamara has a good game on the ground, and we'll know he'll catch the ball. I think he has a good game with Grover Stewart out, especially. I just still don't see them scoring a ton of points, like 20, 24 maximum. I don't see them scoring 24 against the Colts, though. I still think they're decent. They have a decent defense. So I think around 20, and the Colts have been consistently scoring over 20 points. So I'm going to go with them at home. I think the running backs. I think who wins the time of possession who's going to win this game, because I think the running backs in this game are going to have a day. I think Kamara's going to have a day. I think the two-headed monster in Indy with Taylor and Moss, they're going to have a day. Saints defense is very good. It's a little different, though. The Steichen offense is pretty unique. A lot of misdirection, some RPO. So it's a little different. That's why, they were able to have success on the Browns, a good defense in the Browns, because it's kind of something the Browns haven't really seen yet this year. So something new. And that's why Steichen was a really good hire, and he's kind of a tough coach to go against. So I'm a little bit more of this is leaning towards the Colts, but this could be the Saints could have broke out at the end of that game offensively, that last game, and this could kind of be that full breakout game. I could see that. I'm going to trust the Colts a little bit more. 23-20. They're favored by 1. It's probably one I wouldn't touch just because it's just one of the toughest games to pick for me on the year, really. So I guess I think these two teams will kind of decide their identity in these games. It's still like kind of up in the air, so we'll see. Next, we got the Patriots and the Dolphins. And the Dolphins are going to go back to what they do well. I mean, they're a good football team, but they're going to, what they do is they beat up on bad football teams, and I think they'll do that here. And the Patriots definitely did not look like a bad football team last week. They looked better. They got the offensive line, Mike Nwenwu back, and the offensive line looked good. That made Mac Jones look good. That made the receivers look good. Defense played better, so maybe they figured something out. And I still think they kind of did. Are they going to be like that every week? No. But I think they're going to be better than what they were the first few weeks, obviously. But I think it's a tough game. They always struggle with Miami. It's in Miami, tough place to play. The Dolphins are pissed off after a loss. They just seem to take advantage of these weaker teams. So, I think they're going to put up points in this game. I think they're going to go with 31. I think the Patriots will get 20, which is pretty good for them, based on what they've been doing. But it is a very large spread. I do have the Dolphins just covering that. I just trust them. I think they're the much, much, much better team. They're home, and I trust them in this type of matchup to take care of business. On to the next game. We got the Jets and the Giants, which should really be a low-scoring defensive battle. I'm going to go with the Jets. They are favored by 3. I have them winning by 3, so I think that line by Vegas is very, very solid. I mean, it could be close, like even closer than that. The Giants could win. I'm going to trust the Jets, though. I don't really trust either offense, to be honest. But the Giants defense has really picked it up. I think the Jets defense is better and it's a little more proven, so I expect them to confuse whoever's that quarterback for the Giants and make that extra play. And they're a little more unpredictable with their defense as well. So I have the Jets winning this game. I think we all expect it to be low-scoring defensive game. I got them winning 16-13. Maybe we can see a defensive touchdown, because I thought even less scoring than this is a possibility as well. Next, we got the Jags and the Steelers. Could be a trap game for the Jags only because it's very, very tough to stay consistent in this league, especially this year. And they are one of the hottest teams in football. They're on a 4-game winning streak. The Steelers play everybody tough, and they find clutch ways to win. But I still like the Jags. I like the matchup for them. I think they're the much better team, but I like the matchup. I think ETN could have a really good day, and the Steelers defense could have struggles stopping him, and that could kind of open up the downfield game. But I think ETN has a game on the ground and through the air. Steelers win with their pass rush. I don't think Lawrence is going to get hit a ton in this game, though. I mean, he'll get pressured, but I don't think he gets hit a ton. I thought Steelers got going using Warren and Najee at the end of the Rams game, and that kind of opened up some shots to Pickens. The Jags' run defense is really, really solid, so I think the Steelers will kind of be one-dimensional in this game. They're clutch. They find ways to win. Jags are due, so that'd be the reason the Steelers win, but it wouldn't be because of the matchup or because, who's the better, not because who the better team is, because the Jags are the better team. The matchup definitely favors them. It's only 2.5 because I think Vegas is thinking, Jags they're away, they're due. Steelers play teams really close, really tight. I mean, they're a good football team themselves, but I'm going to go 24-19. I don't know if the Steelers is doing enough on offense when the defense sets them up in good field position once with a turnover. The Jags seem to create turnovers as well. It could be a close game, but I have the Jags covering that one. Eagles, Commanders. Commanders always play the Eagles tough, and I think it'll be closer than the spread here, but I can see it either way. I think the Commanders are kind of down right now. The Eagles are kind of gaining momentum. They just got Kevin Byard as well. Really good football team, obviously. And the Commanders should have beat the Eagles last time. That was their chance. That one game a year they beat the Eagles, and they kind of blew it. So, I could see because of that, the Eagles kind of just covering the spread and beating them up pretty good. But, I like the Commanders to get a little bit more offense going in this game. The defense has been playing better while the offense has been playing worse. So I think the defense plays better than the last time around against the Eagles, but I think the offense plays worse, but I still think they get enough going to maybe cover the spread of 6.5. But then the Eagles are just better, plain and simple better, and they'll do enough here. They'll get pressure on Holland, and they'll score points when they need to. A.J. Brown will continue to be a problem. Arguably the best receiver in football this year will continue to be a problem, and I can't wait to see. We'll see if Kevin Byard plays this week. I can't wait to see it because I thought that was kind of that last piece the Eagles needed, and it's one of my favorite safeties in football for the last several years because he's one of the best playmakers. So Eagles, it's not not just one player. They got a lot better with that. So I can't wait to see that in action. We'll go with the Eagles 27-23, but the Commanders usually play them tough. Brian Robinson's been a little quiet recently. Maybe they get him going again, but you more so have to pass against the Eagles. Really want to see Dotson step up. He's been disappointing to me at least. So we'll see. Texans-Panthers, a battle between the top quarterbacks in the NFL draft this past year, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. Stroud's been fantastic. Bryce Young starting to pick it up last we saw him, so that's great. Him and Thielen been quite the connection there. So, and they're off the bye. Both teams are actually, but the Panthers are off the bye. So could Bryce Young company take that next step? Could the offensive line take that next step? Could some of these other playmakers take the next step? So maybe this stays a little close. I think that's what Vegas is thinking with the 3, but the matchup definitely favors the Texans. Not only do I think they're the better team, it definitely favors them because DeMeco Ryans calls a really solid defense, a lot of zone, a lot of disguised coverages. It's going to be tough for a rookie quarterback to deal with. So they play pretty technically sound defense as well. So the Panthers offense is getting better. I just don't think they go crazy with the points. I was kind of thinking 17 or 20, and that's a step up for the Panthers, going against, given who they're going against, what type of defense they're going against. And then where the Texans, I think they'll have success against the Panthers. I'm confident with Stroud. Will he be like electric through the air? Maybe not like that crazy, but I think they'll get the run game going in this game. I watch out for that. I think they will come out with into this game, pounding the football and trying to control the time of possession. I think Dameon Pierce could have a big game. So a lot of running clock in this one. 26-20. That's probably the closest I was thinking of having. I think the Panthers could continue to get. I think the Texans could as well, but the Panthers, they have to get better. They're the worst team in football, but I think they'll maybe they won't end up the worst team in football. They'll continue to get better. So maybe they're at home off the bye, so maybe they play this a little tough, but the matchup really favors the Texans on top of them just being, I think, clearly the better team here. So I got Houston. Browns Seahawks, I got a little bit of an upset here. The Browns are actually getting 3.5 points, plus 3.5. I love the Seattle throwbacks, and they're at home, so tough to pick against them here. And they're both teams are very good football teams. Seattle's been winning for the most part recently. Since week 1. After week 1, they only lost one time. It was to the Bengals, and it was a close game. I like the matchup for the Browns. It's going to be P.J. Walker, but it's tough to pick P.J. Walker to go 3-0. He actually didn't start last game, so technically is he actually 2-0, but we'll give it to him. So that's the tough part. In Seattle, it's weird. Seattle's like turning into more of a defensive team right now. And I guess it's not that weird because they've drafted so well. They have so many young, talented players, and they're just getting better and better each day, each series. So they're a very solid defensive team right now. And they're playing against P.J. Walker, and there's no Nick Chubb. But the Browns been finding ways to move the ball still. Solid offense line, even when it's beat up. They have weapons. Amari Cooper's been great. So I think the Browns will do a little bit, but I do think it's a defensive game in this one. And Seattle's offense hasn't been that great. I know they make plays. I know Kenneth Walker's running the ball pretty well. The Browns have a very, very good defense. And I think right now, people are going, well, the Browns give up that many points to the Colts. The defense might not be what we thought it was. It's a little different. I think they slipped up one week. There was not a lot of energy. They were giving up on plays. I don't think that happens again, but mainly, it was just a different matchup. That Shane Steichen offense is a little tricky. There's a lot of misdirection, RPO. It's not an offense that every NFL team shows. So it was different for the Browns. The Seahawks, got your typical pro-style offense. They want to run to open up the pass. I think it's going to be a little bit more predictable. So I think the Browns defense goes back to they were playing elite football. I think they go back to playing elite football in this one. So if they're going to play elite football against the Seahawks offense, you would think the Browns would handle business a little bit easier than 1 point. But I like the way the Seahawks defense has been playing. I do think Kenneth Walker can break loose for a big run and have a decent day. And P.J. Walker is over there playing. But I do like the matchup for the Browns. And going back to Seattle defense, it's been great. It's getting a lot better. I don't think it's kind of firm, like it's good now for sure. I think it'll be there. This might be an elite defense one day soon, next year, the year after, because how they're building it. But I still think it can slip up, and it makes sense, and it's okay. So maybe they slip up a couple times in this game. That's the difference. Also, Uchenna Nwosu is out for the year, their best pass rusher. They are bringing Frank Clark back, but I like the Browns. The matchup sides with the Browns. It is in Seattle. Wearing the throwbacks. Love those throwbacks. Getting 3.5 points looks pretty good for Cleveland. Love their defense still, despite don't pay attention too much last week. Chiefs Broncos, they just played each other a couple Thursdays ago, and I honestly, the Chiefs beat them. I think the Chiefs offense might be a little salty about that game because the way, if you watch that game, the way that game went, the Chiefs should have obliterated the Broncos. Like, they kept leaving points up off the board. Andy Reid was getting a little cute, little fancy in crucial situations. It kind of is what he does, and maybe he felt like he can try those things against the Broncos at home. But I think they kind of go finish the job here. I think they're going to score more points in this one. The Broncos defense is playing far better than where it started the year. But I still think you could beat it, obviously. So, and I don't trust their offense a whole lot. The Chiefs' defense is playing very well, very tight in coverage. Nick Bolton is hurt. So that would be the reason I think the Broncos score a little bit more than last. I think both teams score a little bit more than last time. But I think the Chiefs' offense is actually going to come into this one salty, actually, because what happened last time. -7, it's somewhat big. I think they cover that. Got them winning by 11. Just a far better team here. But weather's starting to change. It is in Denver with that altitude. So we saw the home field advantage last week against Green Bay. Maybe there's something there, but Kansas City's a little bit different than Green Bay. Next, Ravens-Cardinals. Yeah, it's a big spread, and I totally can see a scenario that makes no sense, but that the Ravens, after just being dominant against one of the better teams in football, the Lions, and everyone kind of getting hyped on them, they for some reason keep it close, just barely beat the Cardinals. I kind of can see that, but there really isn't a whole lot of logic behind it. The Ravens are far better than the Cardinals. The Cardinals are kind of declining every day because there's more of a game plan out for the new staff. It's just talent. Their talent level is just getting overpowered. The Ravens are one of the more talented football teams and tough teams to deal with because of Lamar Jackson football. Something clicked with that Monken offense last week. I said before that it didn't really look much different in the past. We knew it would click at some point. Looked like it last week. So I love the Ravens defense. We know the Ravens defense is going to play a great game in this game. So I don't see the Cardinals. I don't think Murray's going to play either. They said they're going to be patient, even though he's back practicing. I don't see the Cardinals scoring much more than 13 or more than 13, really. The Ravens may not. Some people may think they can score 30s. They certainly are capable of it. I don't think they get quite there. I do think the Ravens are better off against teams running more man than zone. The Cardinals do run more zone, but the Ravens are just better than them. So I have them winning by 11, 24-13. Next game, Bengals-Niners. It's a tough one because I'm a matchup guy. The matchup today sides with the Niners. So I'm going to pick the Niners to win. I'm going to pick them to win by 7. I probably wouldn't touch this one against the spread, though, but why I say it's tricky is the Niners are a little beat up. They're off the two tough games. They just played on Monday night. The Bengals had a break, and they're playing a team that just played on Monday night. I don't know if that's really fair, but in the Bengals, it's kind of that time of the year where they start to click it in the gear. I know they are kicking in the gear. I know they will, too. I'm confident with the Bengals figuring out, and it could start with this game. So it's tough for the Niners. So it is tough to pick the Niners to cover the spread in that scenario, but I love the matchup for them. Not only are they due for a win, not only are they going to be playing pissed off, but a reason they lost to the Vikings, well, that was in Minnesota in prime time, but the Vikings' offensive line was the main thing. They held down the Niners' stout defensive line and pass rush. Like, they did a phenomenal job against it. And the Vikings offensive line is really coming together, and they have star tackles. The Bengals offensive line should get better as the year goes on, but I do not trust them to do what the Vikings did in that game. I do not trust them. So I think Nick Bosa, after really getting dominated in that last game, I think he has a show. He puts on a show in this game and has a day. Also, the Bengals defense, it was good in the Seattle game, but it doesn't really feel like the same Bengals defense from the past. It really looks like you can run the football on them. So I think McCaffrey has a day on the ground, and I think Ayuk's going to get his separation. Kittle will get open. He'll do enough as well. Purdy's been struggling, and Lou Anarumo calls a really good defense too, so maybe he can struggle again. But the matchup on both sides with the Niners, where the matchup, I guess, where I like the Bengals is the Niners been playing a lot more man coverage this year, and we saw last week what the trickier receivers that sometimes they get beat, and now you got man coverage against Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. It's usually a no, like don't do. So the Bengals could take care of business there. I'm just thinking that the Niners pass rush has a day, so that really won't show up a whole lot and of them getting key separation. Like the Vikings had the pass protection, and then they got open, against man coverage. So That's the difference there. So the matchup sides with the 49ers, I do think the Bengals will turn it around. I still think they're a contender. Both teams are definitely big-time contenders, I think, when it's all said and done, even though one's kind of underwhelming, the Bengals, and one's underwhelming recently, the 49ers. But this should be like a heavyweight battle, in my opinion. I like the Niners by 7 at home here. Sunday Night Football, I talked about in the beginning of this video. I said there's a lot of teams that have been a little underwhelming, and they have that bounce back or that breakout week and win big. And the Chargers are one of those teams. They've been underwhelming. I am kind of going cold on them. I don't have a whole lot of trust in them in general. Herbert's struggling right now. But I think they're better than what they've showed. I think they show that in this game, as they should. They're home on Sunday Night Football. They're playing the Bears, who had a good week last week, but they're still on the lower end of the NFL. They have an undrafted rookie at quarterback who played well last week. But Chargers defense, I think, play solid in this game, create some turnovers. The offense, I think they'll get it going on offense. I think Herbert has a solid day at home, Sunday Night Football. I just don't expect the Bears to be able to do enough here. So 28-16, the Chargers have been a little more, they've been worse this year than the past years, but they're actually a little more effective when they get in the red zone compared to past years. And the Bears defense has been picking it up, but their red zone defense still is towards the bottom of the NFL. So I think the Chargers execute getting touchdowns instead of field goals in this game, and that could be a big difference as well. So 8.5, pretty big spread, especially compared to what the Bears did last week, what the Chargers been doing, struggling. But this is the bounce. This is the breakout game for the Chargers, and it should be. It's not going to mean a whole lot, but yeah. And then the Lions had a rough week, and they're wearing the retros. Not a fan of that logo, but I do like the uniforms in general. But they had a rough week last week. They just look like a bad football team. The Ravens made them look silly. Bad matchup, man coverage against that, Ravens offense, Lamar Jackson, the speed that they have, and the Lions secondary struggle a little bit. And I guess the Lions secondary could struggle against great receivers. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers been playing fantastic. They're trying to get Michael Mayer going a little bit more. Josh Jacobs been catching the ball pretty well. So that could be the argument of this game staying close and the Raiders having a shot. And then Garoppolo would need to play, which he's still not cleared for practice yet. But in that scenario, so I could see it. But this is in Detroit, wearing the throwbacks. That crowd's going to be crazy. They're salty. That Campbell's going to have those guys salty. They're going to want the bounce back game. The Raiders just really aren't that good of a team. Again, they have really good weapons at receiver, and that could be the difference. They have Max Crosby, who's one of my favorite players in the league, I suppose. But they just don't have enough there. And the defense. The Raiders in general, with the defense as well, was kind of, I think, a little misleading. People starting to think like they could be decent, but they're playing weaker teams. The Lions will have success through the air, on the ground. They'll keep Goff protected for the most part. Defensively, they will stop the run. I think the Raiders' shot is getting them through the air. Garoppolo beat up. Will he play? It's up in the air. I think the Lions have no problem in this game. I think they should. If they win and it's super tight and they just squeak by, I'm going to question some things. If they lose, I'm panicking because after what happened last week, so we're actually at that level like in a game like this because this is one that the Lions must take care of business. 31-17. I think they'll have no problem in this one. Still a very good football team here. I'm just not trusting the Raiders a whole lot. So, recap my against spread picks. So my record last year was brutal. It's probably my worst week ever, but we were doing so well that we're still pretty solid, 59-44. Pick Watch has like the experts, that keeps track of theirs. I would be 10th on there. So even with awful, I think everyone had an awful last week. I think that's what we'll go with that. But I have the Bills covering 8.5. That is tough because the Bills been struggling, but the breakout games here at home Thursday night, crowd's going to be crazy. I got them covering that. It's going to be really close. I wouldn't put money on that. I like the Cowboys breakout game for sure. They've kind of already could have said broken out, but I love the matchup against the Rams. They had that break as well. They're home. I love the way they match up in that game. So, and they cover that 6.5. The Vikings in a pick. They're better than the Packers. Packers are beat up as well. I know the Vikings are missing Jefferson, but Vikings should handle business in that game. I like Titans +3. They're at home. They've been a different team at home. I guess the tricky part is they don't have Tannehill. They have Levis. They don't have Byard anymore either. But that game's going to be one of the trenches. Two really solid defenses. Two solid run games. I'm going to trust Henry and Jeffrey Simmons. We'll say a little bit more there with the Titans and the Oilers jerseys at home. Colts, Saints, don't touch that game. Maybe the toughest game to pick on the year. Who's looked better this year, more consistent? The Colts. Who should be better, and the Saints should be better, but that doesn't really matter. Maybe things it's about that time of the year where it starts to kind of clicks back into normal. So maybe, but Colts been better. They're at home in this game. The running back duo is fun as hell. I'll take the Colts. Dolphins minus 9.5. Big spread. Matchup favors them. They take care of business against these type of teams. Jets Giants I wouldn't touch. I actually had it pushing the spread. If I had to pick, I'll go Jets just because I 100% know I can trust their defense, the Giants defense. I trust against Zach Wilson. It's been getting better, but it's still like, what's still their identity? They're a little bit more predictable as well. So maybe the Jets kind of get them in a man coverage scenario. Garrett Wilson gets separation. Breece Hall takes off. I could see Wilson running in a defense like that. Commanders, I'll take plus 6.5. I think it could be closer than that. I wish it was 7.5, to be honest. Texans minus 3. The matchup favors them, but the Panthers could kind of kick into gear going forward. But I like the Texans in that one. And to finish it off here, the Jags minus 2.5. It could be a trap game just because they're due for a loss. It's in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh plays teams tough, but the Jags are much better. I think ETN has a monster game. I think the Jags make them one-dimensional. Browns plus 3.5. I think they win the game, even though I wouldn't bet on them straight up winning the game because it could go either way. But I love their defense. People do not focus on last week too much and decide things with their defense. I think they have a really good defensive outing, but they could still lose with the really good defensive outing because they have PJ Walker at quarterback. But plus 3.5, I like that. The Chiefs should cover the 7. Ravens, this could be a trap one in terms of not the game. The Ravens should win, but the spread because the Ravens are far better than the Cardinals. You think they can stomp them, but it's probably going to be closer to that line than you think. But they're just so far better than the Cardinals. And I don't expect the Cardinals to score much against that stout Ravens defense that the Ravens should cover. Niners, Bengals, I wouldn't touch that one against the spread just because I probably would in San Francisco. The Niners win the matchup because their pass rush should be back to normal in this game. And McCaffrey should run pretty close to wild in this game. So I would love it, minus 5.5. But the fact that the Niners are kind of wearing down right now. They just played on Monday night. They're not playing as well, and they're playing a team that is about to get hot at any time now off a bye. Like that makes it tough. But the matchup, I'm a matchup guy. The matchup says the Niners win by 7. Chargers minus 8.5, breakout game for them against the Bears home on Sunday night. The Lions, I think, should beat up the Raiders pretty damn good. If Garoppolo is ruled out, that's going to be a double-digit spread. But I just don't know. I'm not an injury expert. I don't know if he's going to be ruled out or not. I don't know if the Raiders even know that yet. He just hasn't been medically cleared. But the Lions should shellac them pretty good, I think. So minus 8 there. So those are my against the spread picks and all my scores. Locks of the week, bets of the week Thursday. But I always kind of last second talk about my bets, my favorite picks there on Twitter. So make sure you follow us there. Links pinned in the comments for that. Anything else you're looking for, we'll keep an eye on injuries. We'll keep an eye on Twitter of the latest news, rumors revolving around the trade deadline. We have you covered this here. Multiple videos I'm going to get to work on. I already have a couple more in mind, but maybe one soon. So we'll see. We have a recent mock draft as well. We got you guys covered here. So hopefully you can join us for all of our great content. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.